Stage 3 of the 47th edition of the Tour de Hongrie in prospect. The riders arriving at the halfway point of this beautiful stage race, and once more racing on fundamentally flat roads with a couple of lifts. Two King of the Mountains assaults on the way out of Kaposvár, on the way to Sexart, heading to wine country, southwestern Hungary. Three intermediate sprints along the way as we reach our most western point part of Hungary. Out of Kaposvár with a short loop before we begin the intermediate sprints classification, and two Category 3 climbs. Not likely to be a huge challenge to the sprinters. This one billed as clearly one for the fast men, despite the profile. Little significant climb coming some distance from the finish line. Benoit Cosnefroid, resplendent in the yellow jersey and in control of a narrow advantage on general classification. Riders 109 strong peloton getting set to make its way out of Kaposvár Arena and into action. 19 teams, including 7 at World Tour level. Looking forward to potentially another thrash for the sprinters, but after the stage 2 battle in the crosswinds, all the teams would be mindful of the potential for splits. And the jersey classification holders, as is ordinarily the case, presented at the front of the peloton, with Eric Vetter, the best Hungarian rider, sharing a moment with Benoit Cosnefroid, Stage 2 winner. French rider unexpectedly at the top of the pile with 3 stages remaining. Tim Merlier sitting in the green jersey, and Edoardo Zamparini in the red of leader of the King of the Mountains. Main players from the first 2 days of racing action rolling out for a short neutralized section of just under 3 kilometers. Presented to the crowds at Kaposvár, not a regular visiting point for the Tour de Hongrie. All smiles for Juan Sebastian Milano. What opportunities would there be for the Colombian sprinter at the end of 152 kilometers? Past the imposing side of Kaposvár Cathedral, 18th century edifice of some imposing standing. Flag in and immediate activity, and surprising indeed to see the Powell Southern squad involved in the early skirmishing. Team United Shipping too, local registered team, almost inevitably on the attack in the early moments. A little ramp up at the start of the day just to surprise the riders who hadn't managed to do a decent warm-up. Campana squad as well, Italian registered, but with 2 Hungarian riders in its lineup, eager to show what they were capable of. Adam Reves and Boldazar Zembari could be relied upon to animate the early proceedings. Eric Vetter too, best Hungarian rider in that white jersey, showing ambition for the 2nd day in succession. Long-range effort from him in yesterday's stage, and no surprise as well. Plenty of attention on Attila Valter, best known rider in Hungary. He is the local star and winner of this race back in 2020. 5-rider group assembling at the front, containing a couple of well-known names. Baku Mulma, certainly the best-known name. 3-time Grand Tour stage winner, a couple of stage successes in the Tour de France, and of course winner of Il Lombardia back in 2019. Clearly the best-known name. Indeed, enjoying his first participation in the Tour de Hongrie. Well, plenty of displays of equine ability. Oops. Well, it's as easy to get off a horse as it is to get on. Far easier, I would imagine. Through the Kasai Valley, and well, difficult weather conditions for the riders today. A lot of anxiety, a lot of riders bringing their rain gear with them right from the start in anticipation of thunderstorms and torrential rain. The advantage to this is that it's not likely to last for too long. Riders up front not even encountering that little storm, little flash further as the breakaway gets set for the first of 3 intermediate sprints, and it's Eric Vetter that is full of fight. Local man taking and claiming first spoils of the day. 5 points towards the points classification. But more importantly for Eric Vetter, that white jersey, he's keeping that one ticking over with a 3-second gain ahead of Victor Vercouy, the breakaway specialist from Belgium and Team Flanders Baloise. Michael van Turenhout, another Belgian rider of some renown and ability, and van Turenhout, best known, of course, as a cyclocross man. Out on the front of Vercouy like a scalded cat out of the breakaway group, trying to catch the rest out. Eric Vetter alive to the danger there on the run to the first of 2 climbs. Category 3 assault, and super job done by Eric Vetter to claim the 5 points on offer. Goes level at the top of the King of the Mountain standings with Zamperini, who's stuck back in the main peloton. Vercouy vanquished once again. Adam Reves, the youngest rider in the group, just 18 years of age. Indeed, Bauke Mollema was 21 years of age when Reves was born. That'll make you feel old. Bauke, he's 39 years of age now, heading towards retirement at the end of the season. His first visit to this event, and enjoying new experiences late in his career. 73k to go, and another opportunity for some intermediate sprinting and bonus seconds. Reves leading the charge from the front, trying to find a different way. Vercouy looking like he was going to get that one, but Vetter just way too strong for the Belgian. Hungarian rider with 6 seconds claimed already, starting the day 16 seconds down. Now has moved up into a virtual top 10 situation, and well, potentially my challenge at the third and final intermediate sprint of the day, but not before Victor Vercouy at the second of our mountain climbs, second and final climb of the day, finally gets one over Eric Vetter. Vetter perhaps feeling the effects of 2 tough days of racing. Of course, he was much involved, the long-range attack, attacked with about 25k of yesterday's stage to go. Managed to hang on when the crosswind fighting emerged and a group arrived up to him, and he was actually in the top 3 heading into the final 700 meters of the ramp up to the finish line. Great effort from Eric Vetter in that white jersey. Can he hang on to it today? Well, he's enhanced his situation, albeit looking a bit tired now. Owen Reves, the 18-year-old, front wheel washing out. Didn't look like he was really pushing there, but just shows you, doesn't it? Different levels of grip available to the riders and on the various bikes and tire combinations that they've got. So a little bit of road rash accumulated for the young rider, and Reves will be reclaimed by the main peloton, leaving it up to his 4 breakaway companions. Vetter, Van Turenhout, Vercouy and Bauke Mollema still out front. Reves back to the main peloton, towed along in characteristic fashion by Martin Severcek of Soudal Quick-Step squad. Tim Merlier clearly wants this one today. So too does Victor Vercouy. Well, Rest of the breakaway looking a little leg weary. Final sprint opportunity available for these riders, and more bonus seconds. And Victor Vercouy is part of that cohort of riders starting the day. Just 16 seconds down on the race leadership, so all three of them ostensibly, or at least in a virtual sense, ahead of Benoit Cosnefroy for the overall race leader throughout much of the day, and Vercouy claiming the bonus seconds there. Meanwhile, the main peloton cruising along, apparently unconcerned. Mollema puts the group back together again. Van Turenhout and Eric Vetter maintain the quartet's solidity. Approach the final 22 kilometers. A couple of little ramps, unclassified ramps between here and the finish line. The main peloton stalking their rivals. Severcek, super job from him, and also from Vigard Stacke-Langen of the UAE Team Emirates squad. Those two riders doing much of the legwork. Benoit Cosnefroy's yellow jersey is evident there underneath the black gilet that he's wearing, so yellow sleeves denotes the overall race leader. Cosnefroy staying ever vigilant and staying close to the front. There's Vetter, Vercouy, Van Turenhout and Bauke Mollema just dangle off the front. This drag up is about 1 kilometre long and over 4%, so not exactly a mountain, but enough to test the mettle of those riders who've been out front at this point for about 120 kilometres or so. Severcek has done a certain amount of that legwork, arriving on the front of the peloton with 70 kilometres to go. Vigard Stacke-Langen taking up the pacemaking from the earliest moment of this breakaway leaving. Now Bauke Mollema has gone raiding, and Victor Vercouy just dances up onto the back wheel of the Dutch veteran. Bauke Mollema, former national time trial title holder, as well as his victories in the likes of Ile-Lombardy and Tour de France et al. Other major successes in his career. No wins so far this year in his retirement season. And Michael Van Turenhout, well, just a bridge too far for the cyclocross man. He's tuning the engine with thoughts of 1 hour racing in winter. No doubt he'll be grateful for the opportunity to race with the rest. Eric Vetter as well, starting to wilt a little after feeling the effects of 2 tough days of racing action. But in that white jersey, if he can hang on in the main peloton, they reclaim the rest. Still a chance of 2 jersey classifications at the end of the day, the best Hungarian and potentially the best mountains title, because he's level on points with Victor Vercouy. No more points on offer today. The red jersey will be awarded to the rider who's better placed on general classification between Victor Vercouy and Eric Vetter. That's not what Vercouy and Bauke Mollema are thinking about right now. They're trying to fend off this peloton for as long as possible. Down to 20 kilometres to go. Seems a forlorn hope. But as long as you're out front, you have to believe. Van Turenhout has been detached from the front of the race and now reclaimed by the peloton as we arrive towards the top of this unclassified drag that will be the last major impediment for the riders before we race down into the final moments of this stage. Peloton spreading wide across the road. Various teams trying to protect their GC riders and sprint options. Jaco Alula starting to appear on the front. They've got Luke Plapp, potentially Paul Double. There's a double act indeed for the general classification in the stage 4 GC fight into and around pitch. There's 4 climbs on offer on day 4. Last Chapel is a pretty thing. Well, the weather conditions absolutely choice, aren't they? Difficult for the riders. Plenty of riders in the main peloton who've been cruising along on the wheels have had recourse and requirement to wear jackets all day. Less so for these riders up front. They've been toiling hard. Their energy resources dwindling fast. The collective strength of that main peloton, of course. So many different reinforcements to call on. The Jaco Alula team control at the front, and that'll suit the sprinters teams just fine. Tiptoeing down this quite treacherous little descent here. Bauke Mollema has lost a few bike lengths, well, more than a few bike lengths. He's probably now about, what, 5-10 seconds indeed behind Victor Vercouy, the younger man, just 23 years of age. Altogether more committed on this descent. Mollema probably recognises that there's little value to risk-taking. With 20 kilometres to go and an advantage of less than 15 seconds. Main peloton, various states of disrepair on this descent. Various little fractures in that peloton. Riders needing to be cautious. Roads like glass. It's part of the technical exercise of bike racing, isn't it? Not just about tactics, it's not just about athletic ability. And now, what sort of athletic ability does Bauke Mollema have? Because he sets himself to the task of rejoining Victor Vercouy, who's going for a bit of a merry dance to try and get the maximum from the slipstream of the motorcycle ahead. You've heard about the motorbikes, but they all go looking for the slipstream, don't they? It's hardly the motorcyclist's fault. Meanwhile, behind the main peloton is now on full-on mode to create as crescendo a conclusion to the day as possible. Everybody at the front trying to maintain the pace to prevent late race attacks, to prevent any stalls that can cause all sorts of consternation and the odd little spill. But look at that, that peloton is not exactly huge. It looks as if Bauke Mollema is within touching distance of the front. How much is that gap foreshortened by the camera? Vercouy is not necessarily of a mind to give in to his veteran and erstwhile breakaway companion. Bauke Mollema now tracking across to the left-hand side of the road. Benoit Cosnefroid safely in the first 10 or 15 riders of this peloton at the moment. Teammate just in front. The control still being maintained by Soudal Quickstep on behalf of Tim Merlier. Cofidis squad en masse start to appear towards the front. 16 a bit kilometres to go. We saw them. They were the squad along with the UAE team, Emirates XRG team, that created the split in the peloton yesterday in the crosswinds, and indeed much of the day has been in crosswind scenario for this peloton. But to this point, at any rate, the winds haven't blown to the intensity required. Indeed, the mindset hasn't been in the peloton to create a split. It's probably been a gratefully received scenario, not just for the GC riders, but also indeed for those men that would sprint to glory today. Tim Merlier have his opportunity again after his day one success, 6th on day 2, behind Cosnefroid. Meanwhile, Mollema still not quite there, and I'm not sure he's going to get there. What a scrap. Well, I don't think he can afford to look over your shoulder. He looks positively nonchalant, doesn't he? It's beautiful shape on a bike adopted by Victor Vercouy, born in Kortrijk, Flanders. The Jaco Alula squad assembling on the right-hand side, and after Luke Plapp and others on the left of the tuning fork is the Soudal Quickstep combination at the front. Got further riders behind, and look at what these winds, they're not hyper intense, but when you create a split, it's really tough. They're absolutely flat chat. It doesn't look like they're going so fast when you look at the front of the peloton, but when you look at the damage that's being done, partly as a result of that descent, and wholly, I suppose, well, in greater part by the fact that they have not eased up since they've got down to the bottom and gone on the flat road towards the finish line. Now Bakabulum has packed that one, and he's not going to get to Vercouy, who will have the honour of being last man standing, claiming the bonus seconds in the final sprint of the day. That's going to be useful, and continuing to believe that maybe, just maybe, a glorious stage success for a breakaway specialist, a man who's been up the road in plenty of various races, couple classics in Flanders, including Ronde van Vlaanderen. And he's using those same skills and ambitious levels to try and create a special day in Hungary. Bauke Mollema sinking like a stone in that main peloton. He'll cruise to the back. Vercouy just maintains that almost nonchalant poker face, but he too knows that the game is almost up. Doesn't look as if he's quite going to get to 10 kilometers to go. This peloton not for hanging around at this point. And the weather conditions difficult, and indeed difficult all the way to the finish line. The rains have descended upon Sexart, the capital of this local region, the smallest regional capital indeed in Hungary. Population of 30,000. Primarily engaged in, well, much of the population indeed engaged in viticulture. The wines of this region are much admired. Vercouy back, chapeau to the Belgian rider. He's back in the fray as we leave it up to, presumably, the sprinters. Something remarkable happens, and indeed it would appear as if this is a pace that would prevent any speculative attack. So that's definitely not quite as big a peloton as it was striking out at the beginning of the stage. 109 riders began the day with hopes of being involved at the finish line. That's a group that will press on to try and get back on terms. I wonder if there are any GC contenders involved in that one. They're clearly pushing on, and indeed they're not the final group on the road, as you see. It's been an all action and indeed a very, very fast finale for some riders. Altogether too fast. Jacob Alula, the NSN squad, also trying to take him out of the peloton. Plenty of rain jackets still in evidence, less so for Jacopo Mosca of the Lidl Trek squad, who tried to get in an early break, didn't quite work out. He has thoughts on sprinting today. He was 11th in yesterday's stage. He's gone sprinting in each of the first 2 days, he wouldn't be an established bunch galloper by any means, but Jacopo Mosca just has an opportunity, given the specific configuration of his Lidl Trek squad this week, try his luck and come up with a top 10 performance potentially for the Lidl Trek team. Been involved in the early moves in each of the 3 days, hasn't paid off just yet. I suspect the scrap for the break, the fourth stage, is going to be an extended one. That group just dangling off the back, just a couple of cars in front of them. The barrage will be put up. It'll be an honest fight for them to make their way back in. Not going to be easy. Squeal of the brakes in the wet conditions. By now familiar sound. Jacob Alula's squad have Colin O'Brien, Luke Durbridge, Luke Plapp, all mindful of the necessity to stay up front, stay out of trouble. 3 kilometers to go, the point at which if you're in the group that you're in, you will keep that time, at least keep the time of that group, should you encounter any sort of mishap between then and the finish line. Okay to go through Oshesny. The sprinters teams, the likes of Sudal Quickstep with Tim Merlier. There's a green points leaders jersey on underneath a rain jacket down there towards the head of that peloton. Certainly in the first third of riders. Merlier maintaining a watching brief. His teammate Martin Severcek has done a lot of the legwork. We'll be grateful now for this contribution from Luke Durbridge. Team Polti visit Malta also with thoughts and dreams and hopes of glory. Dario Giuliano just to the outer reaches of the top 20, their best performances in the first 2 days of racing. And the break yesterday with Adrian Benito, of course Andrea Pietrabon as well, also performing well. It's part of that long-range effort, made the split in the crosswinds, although became detached and lost a bit of time in the finale. But Pietrabon clearly got some good form. This is a pace that is of a level of intensity that just means it's unlikely that anything is going to disappear off the front. Some teams will be happy enough with that. Pinarello Q36.5, and another team with multiple reasons to keep things safe, to keep things benign. We had Walter Calzoni and Marcel Camprubi, part of that 16-second cohort. Indeed, all 5 of their riders still in the race are part of a large group of about 50-odd riders that are within 16 seconds of the overall race lead, so they've got multiple options. They've got Emmanuel Hucos just outside the top 10 in each of the first 2 days. 11th and 12th place finishes for Hucou. Nicolo Parasini in the top 10, 6th and 9th in the first 2 days of racing action. And of course Walter Calzoni and Marcel Camprubi, who made that front split. So Pinarello Q36.5 Pro Cycling with multiple riders clearly on some decent form. 8 and a bit to go, and it's the finale that has few significant complications. We'll route around the finishing town of Sexar today. We'll cruise around inside the final kilometers. The riders will arrive at it's a long left-hander just inside 3 kilometers to go, then a more demanding, tighter left-hander with 1,300 meters remaining, and then with 500 meters to go, a left-hander, 90-degree left-hander that will take the riders into just a 500-meter finishing straight. That's going to be a major appointment. And in these conditions, on treacherous roads, well, it's going to demand the very best that these riders can muster after a long, difficult, cold day in the saddle. These riders, including Erik Vetter. You see that white jersey of the leader of the Hungarian classification. The way things are going, could be heading out of that. There's, well, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Hungarian rider or two just within a handful of seconds of Erik Vetter. Will be benefiting should Vetter not be able to rejoin. It's a difficult moment for the young Hungarian after all his efforts in the breakaway. He has looked a little bit leg weary in the last hour of racing. Meanwhile, also trying to make his way back on, Vigard Stakalangan and indeed Bauke Mollema from the early break, another rider who's detached and scrapping hard to stay with the front group. Still, it's the Jaco Alulas that command the front of the peloton, much to the no doubt gratitude of the rest of the peloton, with the obvious exception of that group that are trying to chase back on. I suppose if they didn't do it, someone else would have to do it. It means that a lot of the sprinters teams can keep at least one other rider free and available. Just gives them greater resource into the closing stages. Koznefon, the far left-hand side of the picture, those yellow sleeves, the black gilet on, just trying to move his way back up front. He just slipped a little bit further back than might be deemed wise. The 30-year-old Frenchman who scored his 25th pro success on stage 2 of this event. Just want to make sure that he's staying safe. See routes around this roundabout, taking the right-hand road, and reassembles within about, what, 5 or 6 or 7 positions of the front of the race. Koznefon looking good. Not too many teammates around him at the moment. He does have one just to his left at the moment, and you can see the way as the riders assemble and fan out from the left-hand side of the road across to the opposite side, that the wind is definitely a factor here. Giacomo Mosca for the Lidl Trek squad with that characteristic elbow out style. And the UAEs would like to keep this one relatively calm. Are they concerned about the pace? Are they delighted for Benoit Koznefon? Probably the latter. Team Flanders Baloise, the left-hand side of picture momentarily. Well, they are also up for something today. Elias Maris, 4th across the line on stage 2. Can they go one better, or even 3 better? There's Deglo yellow gilets on the shoulders of the Team Flanders Baloise team, presented in the break all day, with Victor Vercouy, and now perhaps Nolan Heismans to go sprinting, 16th in yesterday's stage, but Elias Maris also, 4th place across the line. Siba de Weert, another option for them. NSN's assembling left-hand side of picture. A couple of sprint options. And the Team Polti Visit Malta has distinctive red shorts, yellow jerseys, green sleeves, the Italian colours, with Dario Giuliano. Best performance from them in the first couple of days of racing action, 19th and 20th across the line. Team Polti Visit Malta with a significant uplift required to produce a decent point scoring position. Inside 5 to go, indeed coming down to 4 kilometres remaining. A lot of the teams yet to fully switch on. Pace has been maintained at an elevated rate by Jacob Alula. He'll be grateful and content with that one. Mohammed Al Matawi is the national road race champion of the UAE for the UAE Team Emirates XRG squad, who's been hovering near the front looking for riders. Now the Lidl Trek squad moving up as well. Team Bahrain victorious, putting a rider second from the front at the moment, and everyone trying to regain control. Plenty of sprint talent displayed throughout the field this week. Simone Buda, 4th place finish on day 1 for the Solme Olmo Arvedi squad at 3rd division level. A huge result for them. We'll see what he can do about replicating that. Tyler Stites as well for the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling team, 9th and 8th, and indeed his teammate Ben Oliver, 7th in yesterday's stage. Riders crossing the line within a couple of places of each other in each of the first 2 stages for the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling team. Oliver, better placed of the 2 on day 2. Inside 3 kilometres to go, safely through that point at which the general classification riders, well, they can start to breathe a sigh of relief. And leave it up to the sprinters teams, get elbowed out of it. still they're happy enough to set the tempo in the front, no doubt thinking that just keep the chain tight, keep the pressure on, keep the pace high, keep the peloton stretched as much as possible, make as much space for as many riders as possible. 2.5 to go. Long left-hander will take them around to, well, they've been through that left-hander basically, and that's going to take them now down to 2 kilometers to go. Then we've got a left-hander with about 1,300 meters remaining. That'll be complicated, followed again by another complicated left-hander with just 500 meters remaining. Across this flyover bridge, the wind just might be a little bit more intense. And lots of jockeying for position, lots of wind out there as well. Lots of intensity about this one. Who's going to be able to move up? Well, the pace is kept high. Riders at the bottom of the picture are going to find it difficult and challenging to force themselves and force their way into contention. Jaco Alula's handed over to the Soudal Quick-Step squad. Victory on day 1. Vanquished on day 2, not present and missing out on in the splits in the wind. So I'm going to fix that one down to this tricky little left-hander with 1,300 meters remaining. Really committed ride through that bend by Yves Lampart of the Soudal Quick-Step squad. Opens up a few bike lengths of an advantage. Is he going to want to maintain that? Look over his shoulder. Gets the signal that he needs, that it's well worth riding here. Who's going to do the chasing? Soudal Quick-Step trying to set up a lead out. This is even better. It'll mean others have to chase, and well, Tim Merlier will sit in the pocket and waiting for his moment to shine. Third in line from the bunch with his teammate Yves Lampart out front at the moment. So the Lidl Trek squad doing the chasing. Bert van der Berge just moves up and eases up onto the right-hand side of the road as they prepare for the left-hander with 500 meters remaining. Van der Berge trying to protect his sprint talent. Tim Merlier and doing a really solid job. Indeed, they have 2 riders in front. Lampart's just overhauled at that moment. Leberg will move to the right-hand side. Tim Merlier tiptoes round the outside and into the final 500 meters. All the leading contenders, indeed, just about everyone, safely through that one. And on the drag race to the line, Fernando Gaviria launching on the right-hand side of the road. Fernando Gaviria for the Carreral squad, 450 meters to go, already out of the saddle and gunning for glory. Max Cantor from the Astana squad is going to be overhauled by Tim Merlier, but will Merlier be able to get to Gaviria? Gaviria just hanging on, or will he? Because here comes Tim Merlier. Tim Merlier just in the nick of time, makes it 2 victories from 3 days. Juan Sebastian Milano also much in evidence in the run to the line, but it's Tim Merlier that records another victory. 4 wins from 7 days of racing action. He's almost apologetic as he realizes how much that would have meant to Fernando Gaviria, and what a big reach out it was. A long range sprint from the Colombian. Still not enough to prevent Tim Merlier as we get the overhead and into the closing moments. This with over 400 meters to go. Gaviria already on the pedals. Max Cantor spots the danger, but isn't able to get the wheel of the flying Colombian rider. And the German rider in the sky blue colours of Astana is passed in pretty urgent fashion by both Tim Merlier and Juan Sebastian Milano. Merlier gets there just in the nick of time. He heads his hand aloft. 71st career success for Tim Merlier, the 33-year-old Belgian rider. Shake of the head indeed from Fernando Gaviria, but it's Tim Merlier that gets the victory ahead of the Colombian duo Gaviria and Milano. Max Cantor hangs on for 4th ahead of DeLonghi, Oliver, Buda, Reynard in Einhorn and Davide Persigo. Tim Merlier another victory, but he left it close, managing just about to get to Gaviria.
How was the whole stage in this weather and obviously the final sprint?
Oh, it was a cold day in the end. Nervous bunch also. After yesterday, the surprise echelon, let me say. Today, everybody want to be in the front. In the end, was scared. So yeah, it makes it more dangerous and nervous with the rain and the cold. And the sprint himself, yeah, was a bit surprised with the last corner. And Gaviria take a good moment. And then I want to accelerate also, but the legs didn't want it anymore with the cold, I think. But in the end, I was lucky I can pass still Gaviria.
4 wins from 2026, late start of the season, but he certainly got going in fine fashion, hasn't he? And it's more glassware, second time of asking this week, and his first visit to the Tour de Hongrie. Tim Merlier into the overall race lead ahead of the penultimate stage of the race by just 4 seconds from Benoit Cosnefroy, Milano Vercouy, Gaviria, Reynard Norsgaard, and the rest, a mixture of sprinters and breakaway riders in that general classification. But it's Cosnefroy who's lurking in second place, leading GC contender. Tim Merlier, though, has a commanding position in the head of the points category, 12 points to the good ahead of Max Canter and Gaviria. Great consistency showed by all 4 riders at the top. Cosnefroy too has scored well in that one. Green jersey, though, looks secure on the shoulders of Belgium's Tim Merlier. And the Madness classification led by Victor Vercouy, surviving and level on points with Eric Vetter, surviving towards the front of the race at the end. Vercouy resplendent in red ahead of the stage 4 with 4 opportunities to gain points on the penultimate stage. Attila Valter now into the lead of the best Hungarian rider classification, as Eric Vetter lost over a minute and a half on the day. The hero of Hungarian cycling, can he swap white for yellow on day 4? Huge star in these parts. First year with the Bahrain Victoria squad. Could he record a second victory in his home race? It's Tim Merlier that will lead the riders into stage 4 of the Tour de Hongrie 2026.